Welcome to another episode of the Profitable Home Services Podcast. I'm your host, Diane Gardner, and this is the podcast where we dig deep to uncover those profit leaks. We want to get them not only identified, but let's plug them. Let's put that money back in your bottom line and make your business wildly profitable. My guest today is Seth Greene from Market Domination. So, welcome, Seth, and we're going to talk about profit leaks that we see in marketing because I see them all the time from the accounting standpoint, and I know Seth sees them from the marketing side. So, welcome, Seth.
Thank you so much, Diane. And thank you. You've been on my show, so it is an honor to get to be here on the other side of the mic on yours.
Yes, and I'm looking forward to coming back on your show in a couple months.
Yes, we would love to have you back to I know we're going to talk about the latest book you've got coming out.
I am working on a series of 5 books right now, trying to finish up the last few details so they can all be um, put out there. I'm hoping at the same time. I'm not sure if I can make that happen or not. But we have a series of plugging profit leaks in various home services industries. So it's been a lot of fun to write them, and it's time now to get them finished up, get them out there.
Awesome. That's
They're not,
exciting.
yeah, not doing anybody any good sitting on my hard drive, right?
They are not.
So, anyhow, as we were talking before we went live, when I hop in various people's QuickBooks, I always see an expense account called marketing or advertising or whatever word they use for it. And when I open that account, oftentimes I see this long list of all these different marketing vendors and things that they're doing, where they've been talked into try this, try this, try this, try this. What do you see from your side? Because I see that and I'm thinking, oh, they've got to be leaking some profits out. Not all of those avenues are working. They just can't be.
Absolutely. I see that all the time. Now, we don't get to go into their QuickBooks, unfortunately. But for example, we had a company that came to us a couple months ago, and they literally, this is not an exaggeration, they had 21 different marketing vendors. And I said, before you hire us, we got to figure out what's working, what's not working. You may not need us. And we turned out, we were able to implement some tracking, implement some reporting, find out how many leads each vendor was generating, if at all, were those leads converting into clients? Were they making any money? I think he ended up firing at least half of them, saved, I think, 15 to $20,000 a month in
Wow.
expenses that he was spending on stuff that wasn't working, and they had just never figured out whether it was working or not. They had just kept doing it.
Right. And I think so oftentimes they get these beautiful reports with lots of numbers on a graph, lots of bars going up to the right all the time. And they get sold on the idea of look how many clicks, look how many leads, look at all this stuff you're getting, not realizing that that doesn't pay the bills, doesn't pay your team, doesn't buy more job materials until they actually convert.
Absolutely. You cannot deposit impressions or clicks or likes or even leads into a bank account. You need paying clients or customers, whatever it is that you and your business call them, but you need cash in the door. And a lot of times there's a lot of there's a lot of marketing agencies that will only focus on the traffic side. We got you more impressions, we got you more traffic. The rest isn't up to us. And it's left up to your, service business owner to figure out the conversion element, which is the most important piece, which I think needs to be addressed first. As a marketing firm, we shouldn't accept a dollar of your money until we know that either you have a lead magnet, a funnel, whatever you want to call it, something that's going to turn that click into a lead and then that lead into a customer. Now, obviously, no one bets 1,000. You're not going to get a 100% conversion rate, but I want to know that are all my tracking pixels set up correctly? Are all of my does the lead go somewhere? Do they get a phone call? Do they get emails? Do they get text messages? Have we Do we know that it turns into actual sales, money in the bank? If not, let's fix the conversion before we drive any more holes. Like we don't want to
Right.
pour more high quality water into a leaky bucket.
Right. Yes. And I see it repeatedly and it just breaks my heart when I look at how many thousands of dollars that they're letting leak out of their business just because they don't understand the number side of it. Because it's a numbers game. If you can't track all those numbers, you're just giving money away, or I always say you're flushing it down the toilet if you can't track it.
Absolutely. I think tracking is one of the not tracking not set up correctly is one of the biggest mistakes that your service contractors are making, and we could certainly dive in and talk about a number of the other ones.
So, before I go where I was going to go with that question, what would be a good conversion rate if they're looking at their numbers and they see, oh, I got 120 leads in the last however many days. What's a good conversion percentage for them?
So every business, I wish I had a rule of thumb and I could just tell you, well, it's 22%. Every business is going to be different. Every city is going to be different. It depends on where those leads came from. That affects their conversion rate, right? Are they coming from Facebook? Are they coming from YouTube? Are they coming from Valpak? All of those and all need to be tracked separately and have different tracking mechanisms so hey, maybe we should stop advertising in Valpak. Maybe YouTube is great, but Facebook isn't. And again, we
Okay.
don't know until we have those separate tracking mechanisms set up. So I would say if we're not talking about clicks, we're not talking about impressions, we're talking about leads, someone who actually physically raised their hand and said, here's my name, here's my email, here's my phone number. I'm interested in your roof repair, your plumbing, your electrical, whatever that work is. I mean, I would love to see, I mean, God, if I 10%, 20%, 30%, I want to skew low because I don't want all of your listeners and viewers to suddenly be mad and think that they should have gotten a lot more. It's so dependent. There are different suburbs of different cities that could have a totally different
They
response
do.
rate.
Yeah.
But I would say let's work backwards and say if I got 120 leads and I know what it cost me to generate 120
Mhm.
leads, I should have at least got enough customers to make back all the money I spent, right? I
And
at
that's
least
where,
want an ROI of 1 to 1 where I
yeah.
got my money back and got paid to
Mhm.
get a customer. Ideally, I want it to be greater than one. That dollar I spent should bring back friends, right? He should bring back more
Should.
than $1.
Mhm.
But at the very least, I want to break even.
Right. And that's where I was headed with before I stopped and asked you the other question was getting everybody to realize that they should at least get their return on their investment back. If not,
Absolutely.
like I said, bringing friends along with it. I
Right. And
know,
it might not be in month number 1 if you're just
right.
starting. It might take some
Yeah.
time of split testing and optimization to get it dialed in. But ultimately, the goal is I want to invest $1 in marketing and get more than $1 back.
Right. Yes. And when I look at their QuickBooks records or their P&L, it's never arranged in a way that I can see you got this much in sales from this much marketing activity. So
Well, it should be. We can have
it
that
should.
conversation about how to
Yes.
set that up.
And it never is. And I'm thinking there's got to be a way that through their CRMs that their
Yep.
sales can come through so that you can actually track this much sales from this particular avenue.
Yes. Now
And
you would know better than I do how to get that into QuickBooks.
yeah.
However, can we track our efforts and know each individual ad or marketing campaign that we ran, how many leads did we get, and then work with the client CRM to say how many people bought, how much money did we make? Are you happy or not? Are you profitable or not on this marketing effort? That we do every day.
Good. Yeah. So if they can pull that information from their CRM, then I can get it into their QuickBooks for them.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
then it helps them make better informed decisions. Because one of the worst things I hate is when they make just an emotional or shoot from the hip type decision, and
Right.
we'll
I
deal
did a
with it
bunch of
later.
different marketing and my sales are up, so it must be working. So I'll keep doing
Mhm.
all of it.
Yeah. And in reality, maybe three of the 10 are actually doing something.
Amen to that.
Yeah. So this is such a big profit leak and one that I come across almost daily when I'm talking to home service business owners. And one that we try to attack fairly quickly because it is such a big leak.
Absolutely.
So what are some other ideas of ways that they can help slow this leak down or actually get it plugged?
So we talked about conversion pixels. What
Mhm.
that is it's a simple line of code that gets put into the header or the footer of your web code of your website, and it is provided by all of the traffic stores. So whether you're buying traffic from Facebook or YouTube or wherever, they all will supply you a pixel. You're going to put what's called a page view pixel on your landing page. And then you're going to put a thank you pixel on your confirmation page where they actually where they entered their info and became a lead. And now, once you set up that tracking properly, you'll be able to see every campaign that you run. How many leads did I get? And how much did I pay for them? And then if we match that to, say, that online lead generation website funnel, whatever you call it, that mechanism by which your prospects raise their hand, if we can tie that to your CRM to QuickBooks, we will then know these ads generated these people, those people turned into this amount of money. You are either happy about that and you want more, or there's something that needs to be fixed or improved. So that would be step one, would be let's track it so we actually know if it's working or not. Now, what if you're not buying leads online? What if these are phone calls? What if people are calling the location or the office? Well, there are software programs that will give you what are called call tracking numbers, where instead of calling your main local phone number, maybe I have 15 different local tracking numbers or 800 numbers, and I only put number one on my Valpak ad so that any calls to number one are from Valpak. Number
Okay.
two, maybe that's the cards I handed out at a trade show at the home show. And I only put that number on the cards that went out at the home show. So now I know these are my home show leads. So this way, if I use tracking numbers, it'll immediately forward to your main number, but the software will report this is the caller ID of every person who called that number. This is when they called, how long they were on the phone with you for. They can even record the call. So I can now see I have phone, if I'm running television ads, I would drive to a separate landing page or a separate tracking phone number, even if it was bobsplumbing.com/Rachel Ray. So now I know he's on the Rachel Ray show. So that way I can make any piece of marketing trackable and most importantly accountable to find out, is it making me money or not?
I know when I'm working with home service business owners, I always tell them that their dollars are like little soldiers going out to do their job. And that comes from Kevin O'Leary on
Yep,
Shark
on
Tank.
Shark Tank, I
Yeah,
remember.
because he's always saying that. And I think that they forget that every dollar that you invest in whatever part of your company does have a job to do. And when you're looking at marketing, those jobs are super important. Just as important as the jobs where you're paying your team and you're wanting to control your costs and stuff in that particular area of your company. All of those are so important to make sure they're doing the right job and bringing back, hopefully, friends with them
Yes.
so that you're getting a return back on your investment in your company and you're not just becoming a nonprofit when you're not a nonprofit.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. What are some other things that they can try? Because I know I see a lot of them attending local events and hosting whatever, things that are happening in their communities, things like that. How can we track those?
So you could either use a different URL extension, dianegardner.com/home show. For each one, you could use a different tracking phone number. Again, they're
Okay.
dirt cheap in terms of what they cost for each one. You could put something as simple as a tracking code or coupon code on your flyer or brochure and say, mention department 147. And now in your spreadsheet, you put, when they say 147, that equals the car show, the home show.
Right. Okay.
You could also have them say, make sure to mention that you saw us at the home show and you will get X, Y, and Z. Maybe that's a coupon or a free report or an extra tune up or maybe something that hopefully doesn't cost you much money, but now they've got an incentive to mention it. And you've got to train whoever answers your phones that when they answer, they have to ask the person, where did you hear about us?
Right.
Or what offer are you calling in from? To make sure that they may not remember, but at least we're asking and trying to track it that way. Because there are people who won't follow directions, won't click the URL, won't call the tracking number, and hopefully asking is the last line of defense.
Right. So, some training on your staff, whether you have CSRs or other types of home industries, doesn't they just have an office staff or whatever. So,
Yep.
training on your staff, even I would say even training on your salespeople, training wherever we can so that we're capturing each of these leads and getting the maximum value from them.
Amen. 100%.
Yeah. Okay.
I
Wow.
think another mistake that the folks are making is they're doing Me Too marketing. It looks exactly like every
Yes.
plumber looks like every other plumber. There's no way to tell the difference. And honestly, it's kind of boring. So I think if you can inject some personality into your marketing, I think if you, which I know you practice, if you can inject some stories about why you got into the business and tell those in an inspiring, compelling way, you will stand out. I think the other thing is everybody copies everybody else. Like they're all doing the fit $99, fix any drain anytime, unclog any drain anytime. Or they're doing the $49 furnace tune-up for the air for the summer or for the winter, whatever it is. I think if instead, what about those that might get you the low-hanging fruit, the people who have a problem right now. But what about building a relationship with everybody who's not ready yet? Right?
Right.
Just because they're not ready to date you doesn't mean you shouldn't stay in front of them with your number. So I would say, what about some lead generation advertising? What about how to over a lead magnet? Something like whether it's a video or a report or a cheat sheet about how to identify the 7 biggest plumbing issues in Western New York before they flood your basement. I'm in Western New York. So I think there's all kinds of ways to get people to raise their hand for right now, that they have a problem right now. And then I think you absolutely at the same time need to be advertising to build that database, that list
You
of
bet.
people who want to learn more, might not be ready to buy yet, but if you stay in front of them forever, when they are ready, they will become your customer. Because the mistake a lot of us business owners make is we want people to buy today because we're ready to sell today. But your consumers are not ready to buy today just because you got something to sell. They're ready to buy when they're ready to buy. And it's not their job to remember you one time. It's
Yeah.
your job as the business owner to make it impossible for you to be forgotten.
I think there's a statistic out there that says like 3% of the people that actually see who you and your product are actually ready to buy today. And so that means you've got 97% that you can keep marketing to and bring them in over time.
Absolutely. 100%.
And yeah, because people always wonder, like, well, I only got this many responses. Well, the others are interested, but they don't need it today or tomorrow. Maybe in 6 months they'll need it. They're gathering information. And
Absolutely. And if, think about it, if they call or they opt in, they sign up for 3 or 4 different companies. Let's say they signed up for four, three of them are going to drop off after a week or two. They're going to
yes,
give up because they didn't buy right now. They'll get tossed in the follow up later pile that never gets followed up on, right? Because all the salespeople want the hot leads, the ones that just came in.
yeah,
But if you stay, the average sale, I think, according to the Sales Executive Association, the average sale is made up on the 12th contact, and most people give up way before even seven.
hmm,
So if you stay in front of them and never give up, you will find a large percentage of business that you get from sticking around longer than everybody else.
right. I was doing an interview with a guy who had I think it was a plumbing company, anyhow. And he was talking about how he started adding in mailing some postcards in that whole process.
Yep.
And he said, and it was postcard was a way down the line. They did their normal emails and texts and calls and all that stuff up front. But then he said they started adding in a postcard. I think it was once a quarter after that, in addition to just the normal stuff. He was amazed at what that did to their conversions because for some reason that all of a sudden here came a tangible something made the difference. At that point,
Abs-
he said they got a lot of people calling in and saying, "Okay, we're ready." Or they put it on their fridge or they did something because right around that time is when they started converting. And
Absolutely. You got to stay in front of them and
yeah,
the more ways you have, that's why we always ask for snail mail because the more ways you have to touch them, the better off, the more valuable that lead is if they were willing to part with that information. We always send email, text, and snail mail because your email, even if you had an amazing open rate, half the people still are never seeing your email.
right.
So and it's so easy to just delete it or for it to land in junk or promotions these days. You got to have other ways to reach people. That's a big profit leak. They're spending all their time and money emailing people and they're missing out on text message, snail mail, social media, and other forms of marketing.
And sometimes I think we have to get very creative so that we can stand out in that market.
Absolutely.
And
If If you want to be successful, look at what everybody else in your market is doing and then do the opposite because the majority are usually wrong, especially when it comes to money.
And also go outside your industry. Go see what somebody in another industry is doing and go, how can I make that work for my industry? And
Absolutely. There's gold in lots of other industries that no one transfers because they're not looking anywhere else outside their own little what happens at the electricians conference. I was just speaking at a conference filled with personal injury lawyers, and some of the things I shared, they were like, "We didn't even know that was possible. We didn't know you could do that." And I'm said, "That's because you just stay in your little personal injury lawyer world."
yeah, yeah, you do have to step outside. I know from the accounting and coaching type world here, I have pulled in things from various industries, and people are always shocked when I send them something that's not accountant looking.
Absolutely.
And it does catch a lot of attention, but you have to get creative and you got to be willing to go find things. I save things that come in the mail. I save the junk mail, not all of it, the better pieces, and I save them for inspiration. Well, I wonder if that could work, and we go give it a try.
I have a storage unit swipe file of all of the amazing things. I write down the nuggets and then save them. And my staff was just on me the other day saying, it's been a while since we've cleaned that out. We should probably go look and see, do we need to keep all of that stuff? What are we, because we're paying for storage units every month.
But it's so funny is you find a gold ticket in there that you'd totally forgotten about. You
Absolutely.
go in and take a look. It's like, wow, I should have been doing this for the last couple months. And pull it
Amen.
out and dust it off and put it out there again.
You are absolutely right.
Yeah. So many ways that we can plug those profit leaks. I always tell people their buckets have multiple size holes. Some of them are great big gushing type holes, all the way down to little dribble type holes. And some of the biggest ones I see are in their marketing side. The water's just
Absolutely.
gushing out and they don't even know it. So easy ones to plug and get fixed. And I think so often they're just on the grind of I have to sell more, sell more, sell more, sell more. And I always say, stop. Let's take a look at how we're spending that money. Plug a few profit leaks, and you wouldn't have to sell as much if we can
Very
get the
true. Your
leaks
margins
cut.
go way up.
They do. Yeah, it's amazing how that works. So,
That's why they need you.
so what's another way that we could plug some leaks in the marketing side of these home service businesses?
I think we need to look at something you brought up earlier, which is what percentage of those leads convert into paying customers. I think a lot of times there is leaks in unconverted leads. I think the sales force probably makes a few phone calls, right? Maybe they're sending us a couple emails. Maybe if we're lucky, they're doing some text messages. But by and large, as a consumer prospect myself, who's worked with many different contractors in home service businesses, there's there are times I called and said, "Hey, looking for a quote on landscaping." Never heard back.
Never
There
heard
were
back.
times that they sent me a quote and I got a quote from a couple different places, and the place that got my business wasn't always the cheapest. It was the one that, kept following up. So there's what do we send when they become a lead? What type of follow up do we send, and how often, and how much do we touch them? When do we give up? And then there's the actual process of if I get a lead on the phone, what is that script that I'm following? Is it proven? Is it tested? Am I delivering it the same way every time to maximize the number of leads that actually convert into paying customers?
Right. And I think that scripting part, though people cringe at the word script, but I think the scripting is so important, especially if you have other people making calls on your behalf, that the scripting piece is there. And then, two, making sure that your team has bought into your why as to why we're doing this. This is not just busy work to keep somebody busy. I want you to make these 50 phone calls. There's a reason behind it. You're wanting to serve your community. You're wanting to solve whatever the problem is that you solve. There's a deeper why to it than just here's some emails that need to go out, here's some phone calls that need to be made. And it gets handled differently when the team members are able to buy into the why, the deeper why behind it.
Absolutely. It's funny. I've had that. I have to retrain my team in my own agency about why we do what we do and how we got here. at least once a quarter and get them all re-excited and re-fired up because sometimes they get lost in the grind, they get
They
lost in the
do.
day-to-day, they
Hmm.
get frustrated just like everybody else, and they forget why we're doing it in the first place. And when we remind them and show them, look at the amazing, there's one business I'm thinking of that literally in 2025, we drove almost $1 million in sales for. And when we tell that story, people go, wow, that's amazing. We change lives. And they get fired up and then they go work harder and they go be more productive and they go generate more great results. So I think you hit the nail on the head. It's like parenting. My wife says she's a parent, mommy blogger, and a marriage and family therapist. And she says, have a few rules and repeat them often. So you got to do the same thing with your
Yes.
team, retell them the story, get them to the point where they get tired of hearing it and they can quote it back to you. And then you know you repeated yourself enough.
Right. Well, and I think oftentimes they don't necessarily see the end result, especially if it's a CSR or somebody like
Yes.
that. They're just making repeated phone calls over and over and all day long. They don't see Mrs. Allen out there whose AC had gone out and they live in Phoenix or whatever. They don't see that this elderly lady was, in really bad shape because her AC went out. They don't see that. That the actually down to the human element of it. Or somebody whose house is flooded or whatever, the stories are, they don't always see that. And I think that's a piece that we need to be better about bringing back to our teams is those stories, the human element piece. And then that makes it a whole lot easier to sit there and make those phone calls and send those emails and to do them on a regularly scheduled basis and put some
Absolutely.
feeling into that script. It's not just a script. It says, I
Absolutely. You
care.
don't want them to turn into robots, right? You want them to have passion and have emotion and relate to people, and telling them the human stories is a great way to do that. You are absolutely right.
Yeah. And it's so easy because we're busy. As a business owner, you're wearing so many hats. You're the CEO of your company, you're the CFO of your company, you're the COO of your company. I mean, there's all these different hats, plus you still have to keep your business running. And admittedly, most home service business owners, and I'll say myself included, we don't know it all. You learn as you go. And it makes for a very busy day sometimes as they're trying to keep their business rolling, they're putting out fires, they're trying to plan for the future. You're asking for information from them, I'm asking for information from them, and then it's easy then to forget that human element, that human story piece of it.
Absolutely. That's why you got to keep telling them and you got to remind them. And every time we get another customer saying, hey, I loved my blank. Thank you guys so much. You got to share those reviews with your
Yes.
team.
Yes. Yes, and let them see that yes, good things do happen because of my efforts.
Absolutely. When they
Yeah,
could say, I made that sale to Mrs. Jones and look how happy she is and connect all the dots, it
yes,
transforms them.
yes. And now you have a team that becomes on fire for you. And what a difference that is.
Yeah, and you get a whole lot of more internal referrals as well when they're proud of what's happening.
Right. Yes, and they're proud to be on Team X, whatever it is,
Yes.
and they're proud out in their community, and that carries so much weight for the business and being able to plug various kinds of profit leaks.
Amen.
So, yeah, wow, this has been a great episode so far.
Thank you so much. I've been having a lot of fun.
Good. You always, every time we talk, whether it's officially like this on an interview or just offline as we talk, I'm always amazed at the good nuggets that you bring in.
Well, thank you very much. I feel the same way when you're on my show.
So, we're coming to the part of the show where we talk about that hidden or unique profit leak that you have seen as you've worked with home service businesses. I know you've been doing this for a long time, and you probably have a really good story of some sort of a hidden or unique profit leak that you've seen out there.
Absolutely. And we've covered a lot. I would say the hidden profit leak is again, I think you mentioned it. It's they're spending money on marketing and they don't know if it's working. And just simply setting up conversion tracking, whether it's phone, email, internet, snail mail, in person, just setting up that element will make a huge difference for them because they'll finally have some transparency and visibility and be able to tell if their marketing's working or not.
Okay, I'll take that one. Yeah, because I think that tracking piece gets overwhelming and they do it for a while and then they fall off the wagon. And then they real all of a sudden it's been months and they haven't been tracking anything.
Yeah, I think they
So,
get seduced by the latest shiny object.
yep.
Tracking could be that object. They do it for a little bit, like you said, and then something else comes along and they forget it and they stop doing it, or it works and they stop doing it.
Yes, they
Right?
yeah.
We've all done that. We've done so. Why'd you stop doing that? It was working. So I think you gotta, you win on the fundamentals, right? Football, blocking, tackling, positioning, right? They practice the fundamentals over and over and over again, same as in any sport. I think we got to do that in the sport of business too.
I think so too. Yes. Yeah, and it is funny because when you said they it worked so well they stopped doing it, I see that all the time. It became normal and it just kind of falls by the wayside then. It's not fun. It's not exciting anymore. So we need to
Yep,
keep it up in their foremost part of their mind in their business is what are the numbers that we're tracking? And keep
absolutely.
tracking them day by day by day by day. Keep tracking them. Yeah. Wow. So, listeners, I hope you were taking notes because Seth just gave us some great ideas. And on my last episode, we kind of coined a new word called profit bombs. And I think Seth dropped some profit bombs for us today. And all these different ways that we can plug those profit leaks. And I think I'm going to be using profit bombs going forward as I talk with other people because that's a great way to put these little pieces that are so important and so vital in getting these profit leaks stopped in your business. So I'm hoping you found great value again today. If you did, please reach out, please like, please subscribe, please share this with your friends, your colleagues. This is vital information, and you can also join Seth and I in making a difference in transforming that home services industry out there. Seth, any final parting words before we wrap up this episode?
Sure, if it's okay with you, if your listeners would like to get their marketing analyzed, find out what's working and what's not, and how they can improve it, just go. We've set up a limited amount of time for folks who come through Diane's podcast. So go to bookwithseth.com, go grab a time. There's no sales pressure on that call. That's not the way we do business here. Go grab a time. We'll walk through what you're doing. We'll help you figure out what's working, and then we'll see where you go from there. Again, it's bookwithseth.com.
Very good. Thank you, Seth, for sharing that. That's very great of you to offer your time that way. Because I know
Absolutely.
how
There's no
valuable
charge
your
for that call.
yeah, I know how valuable your time is.
Thank you. Yes, you know that when we do private consulting, we normally charge $833 an hour.
Yes. Yeah, and we're worth every penny of it.
Amen.
Yes, yeah. All righty. Well, listeners, be sure and take advantage of that. And I will catch you on our next episode. Diane Gardner signing off for the Profitable Home Services episode today. We'll catch you on the next one.